Hey, what's up everybody? It's Carpo, and you know what? It's freaking hot. I've been trying to do this video forever, and at least since I got home, it seems like forever. It's only been about a half hour, but stuff keeps happening. Computer turns off, kids are noisy, things are happening. I envy you people who have the ability to just jump and make a video whenever you want. But on the top of my mind is integrity. And that word, it's like, it just keeps coming up, but it doesn't seem to come up very much in daily life. When people talk about integrity, I guess everyone has their own impression of what it means, but when someone says, oh, he has a lot of integrity, I think that the average thought would be, well, that person has a lot of good values or moral judgments, maybe. Or that person wouldn't do something wrong, And I'm just like, well, that's true. And that is true. But integrity is derived from the word, the integration, integrity, integrating yourself into a society to where you function at a level that's conducive to life. The people around you. I'm going to try an experiment this time. I'm going to turn the screen that I look at myself on off for the first time in like 400 videos because I can't stand it. It like distracts me. We'll see if it's any different. So integrity is, Manly Hall talks a lot about integrity, and I know I listen to a lot of his stuff, but it seems to be that we as humans, like, we don't seem to have the right values. We don't seem to make judgment calls that are for the better of us and everyone. And it's, at first seems, let me say to the younger generation, and I'm not speaking as if I'm old, but I just mean, those who are 25 or younger. I know what it's like to have the angst that comes with those years of adolescence that develop into adulthood. And it's easy to get angry and point the finger at everyone. And as you get older, you start to realize what all the parents said, time flies, enjoy it while you have it. And you're like, whatever, and then it does. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. And kids have like such an intense, like innate, like drive to do so many things that adults don't. And that comes to the age of a person. How old are you? And it has nothing to do with the actual years that your body has been alive. And that's what I want to convey. Your age has nothing to do with how long your carcass has survived. A person will speak of, in terms of age and their body. But mentally, I'm so much younger. I look at everyone, even people who are younger than me, as older. And it's very seldom because of their maturity level. It's because I have a young spirit. And I still do the fun things and love to say and do, all the... I don't let anything out of my life. I haven't grabbed and embraced one thing to where I have to... If something I embrace, something I enjoy, forces me to exclude anything else from my life, then I throw it out. Unless it's excluding negativity. You know what I mean? If you could feel what I'm saying there. It's everything I do has to incorporate everything else. And that's integrity. That's integrating everything into your life. It just seems so fucking obvious to me. And like, I feel like a douche when I say it, because it's like, in my mind, it's just such an obvious thing. But I know that it's not obvious to everyone because not everyone spent the time. So, to the time on themselves to integrate. See, we have the economic life, and then we have the spiritual life, or the value life, the moral life, okay? Let's say we have economic and moral lives. You can build on your economic life as much as you want, but eventually it's going to decline, and you can't take it with you. When you build upon your moral life, it doesn't go anywhere. It's always there. It's always there to draw from. It's like building a savings account that you cannot get rid of. no matter how hard you try. And like many philosophers have found in the past, once you've developed a level of integrity and values and judgment calls, you can't go back. You can't. It's a one-way trip. And this is the pinnacle of integrity. This is why so many people avoid integrity. And I know it's not a willing judgment. No one would ever say I have no integrity. I mean, that no one would say that. That would be stupid. Everyone thinks that they're doing such a great part, and they are, as long as it's for the better of the whole. But when you develop your values in life, they last, and finances come and go. So you build upon your savings account, your moral savings account, and you can't go back. And some people catch a glimpse of that morality, and they get scared of it, and they step away. And I truly believe that it's a subconscious action to prevent one from having to deal with giving up all the things you have to give up when you have integrity. You have to give up beating people down physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And those are the four, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Those are our four selves. And we have to deal with each one of them on their individual level. Mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. They're all different. And that's why a person can be 40 years old, but maybe mentally 20. And while society would look at that and say, oh, you're only mentally 20? Well, in which degree are you mentally 20? Are you, that's the whole point. Because age has nothing to do with wisdom. The only thing that age has to do with wisdom is that if you've built good values when you're young, and you've built a good moral foundation, then when you retire and you get into your older years, you can use those values. And that's what it's all about. That's retirement. That's true retirement. Not a 401k plan, but a mental and spiritual plan that will allow you to prosper. And this is where it really gets kind of interesting to me, because I see so many people that avoid becoming integrated into society in the moral sense because they'd have to give up so many of the things on the side. The extra money, the lavish, lap of luxury. Like, I treat myself because I deserve it. And I understand that mentality. I do. But to what degree do you deserve anything? I mean, really deserve it. Like, for example, a person says, well, I've had a really long week at work, or I've had a stressful week at work, so I'm going to treat myself to, God, whatever people do. I don't know. A salon, or a expensive game of golf, or a really expensive meal maybe, or something, not that's just getting steam out, but that costs money because a person feels like they deserve it. Like, I've worked hard for this, and I know because I do it. We all do it. But to me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to treat myself to a Starbucks. It's like $4. It's like, oh, I'm going to treat myself to some hash, or something. But, I can't see spending hundreds of dollars on designer clothes. That's not integrity. That's lack of integrity. That is so surface. But at the same time, it's important for some people, because personal image is more important to some people than moral image. And there are plenty of people who have both, who spend money, live lavishly, and still give tons. And that's the flow. Those are the ones that are going with the flow. They're not impeding the flow of money. That's the whole thing. It's okay to make a lot of money as long as that money is going back out into the community. Because it's not about the money, it's about what you do with it. And that's integrity. Realizing that each person has an individual contribution to the whole, but at the same time that there are some people out there who are really lacking in any direction. And it's become a major issue whether to cast those people aside or to try to pull them aside and teach them. Like the folks that say sheeple, sheeple, sheeple. And I'm like, are you the shepherd? Are you the wolf? where do you fit into the equation of sheep? You know, who are you? You know, and as soon as you label someone else, you have to have a label for yourself. If you say, "Oh, you're a snob," then that's saying I'm not a snob. If you're saying, "Oh, another rich bitch," you know, oh well, then that's saying you're not a rich bitch. You know, everything you say about someone else reflects back on you, as you saying that you're the opposite of that. Because no one would say, "Oh, he's white," if they're white too. You know what I'm saying? And it becomes self-evident through exploration, personal exploration, that each person really has to dedicate time. It's discipline. It develops integrity. You can't just say one day, "I'm gonna change. I'm gonna be a happier person." That change has to be followed up with action. I mean, this is something I go through every day, all day in my daily life. Whenever a negative emotion comes into my head or a negative thought, whether it be because I'm stuck in traffic because I spend 2 hours a day fucking driving to and from work, or uh, whether it could be something at work that I'm worried about. As soon as the emotion comes into my head of stress or anger, fear, anything, I process it, I integrate it, and realize that it means nothing. But that takes time and it takes practice, and that's just one little facet of it. One little thing that I've done with my life is try to see things by positive, and it doesn't just come naturally. There are no positive thinkers that just change one day from a negative thinker to a positive thinker. The more you delve into negativity, the less integrated you become, and you separate yourselves from society as a whole. Those are the ones I'm saying that point their fingers at everyone. It's everyone else's fault but their own. Everything is blamed on the government. Everything is blamed on their neighbors, their family, you know, their loved ones, their parents. That's a big one. It's always the parents. Parents didn't raise me right, so that's why I am the way I am. This just doesn't fly anymore. It just doesn't. While those factors have an impact on life, it's only up to a certain point. Your parents raise you till you're 18 or whatever, right? From that time on, you know, if you're 36, you know, then you've already lived an entire other 18 years, and all of it conscious, not in a youthful, ignorant state. So, if you're 36 and you're still fucked up and blaming your parents, that's your own fault. It doesn't take any time at all to develop integrity. It's just like a matter of deciding to do it. You decide that I'm going to recognize the actions I do that negatively impact those around me. Or I'm going to recognize when I say a comment to someone that I know makes them feel bad. Or I'm going to recognize when I'm, say, making a comment on YouTube just to rile someone up, even though it's a passive-aggressive comment, let's say. You know? Like the old, a good example would be, "Oh, it must be nice to live in your world," as a reply to a comment, let's say. That's kind of a funny way of saying, your fucking ideas are garbage and you're a douchebag. But when the person replies back and says, "What are you talking about? You're an asshole," they say, "Oh, all I said was it must be nice." It's the wording, and all of us see past that. That's how trolls are so easily identified on YouTube and other places. It's because a person doesn't need to lace their hatred with funny jokes and antics in order to make a person justified in making the comments, I guess. Everything we do on the internet is reflected into from our daily lives onto the internet. So that's why it's such a good example. I don't even know what is going through other people's minds when they feel entitled or better than someone else. And I know what's going through their minds, but I don't understand it. Now, when I look back on myself in my 20s or teen years, you know, I was a pretty loving person. I had the long hair and tie-dyes, and I was always like, peace, man. But I was like you know, the kind of guy who's pretty easygoing with everyone, but I'll jump down your throat if you fuck with my family or friends. You know, I stand up for my beliefs. And to think of how much I've grown since then as a person, but that I was still a good person then, it makes me really realize that there are a lot of other people out there who think that they're good people, but they don't have a clue what integrity really is. People that think they're doing the right thing, and they're not. And the truth is, and this is, I guess, the end game, how you know that you're doing it right is when you fill that void. You begin to fill that void of nothingness. I've heard a lot of people say, you know that empty spot in your heart? That's where Jesus wants to be. Fine. If that's what works for you, that's great. But that's where integrity is designed to reside. Comfort with life, acceptance. It has nothing to do with a God. It has to do with the essence of being. And that's why so many people skip around between belief systems. Because if a belief system, if a religion were complete in all ways and facets and made sense in every way, people would never leave it. Ever. There would be no reason. There's only two reasons that people leave religions. It's either A, they realize that it's bullshit and that there's more to it, and that the people around them who share their beliefs don't, they won't even give credence or thought to, like, if the person says, maybe it's this or that. Nope, it's in the Bible. On the other hand, not only are there people that leave because they feel like the religion doesn't have enough integrity, then there are people who leave their religion because they don't believe they have enough integrity to fulfill the religion. I would have to say that it's a lot easier to be a Christian than a Buddhist. Oh, hell yeah, especially in Western society. However, to be a true Christian would be much harder than being a Buddhist. And the reason I say that is because to follow the actual ideas of Christ is much different than Buddhism, which is just the middle path. Anyway, I digress. It's not about religion, it's about integrity. And integrity is for each one of us to find on our own. But how do you know when you've really found it? And that's why we have so many people arguing, saying that I know what's true. But the people who truly feel it don't need to defend it. You see what I mean? It's like those who have attained any degree of ultimate truth don't find any need to defend their point of view. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like, there's nothing any person could possibly say to me that would make me change my views on what it means to be alive at this point in my life, because I've been developing this for a long time. I've something in the back of my mind that says being a good person is the most important thing, and that's what being alive's about. And that's why I always bring up religion. It's because there's a lot of people that say all you have to do is take Christ into your heart and you're saved. It's like bullshit. That's a cop-out. That's a complete cop-out. No, if you were to say you have to ask, Christ into your heart, and then you have to act upon his values and rescind all, bad offers, and no, it's just take Jesus into your heart and you'll be saved. That's great. That's just really, really great. But it doesn't work that way. It's you can't take any person or God or being into your heart to make you a better person. That's what it's about. No being, even God, can make you a better person. That has to come from within, from your emotional and your spiritual side. You can lie to yourself all you want, and we all do it. And we fool ourselves every day into thinking things are okay. And you know what? That's fine. In fact, if the belief in something keeps a person from going insane and it gives them something to strive for and it's not harming anyone, then I think it's a great thing. I do think that maybe we should get kind of a basis for what, these beliefs are, but it seems we'll never agree 100% on everything. The ice is melting in my palm, so pardon me. I just got home from work and I haven't taken a hit yet. I am, however, having a screwdriver, which I never drink. I mean, it's like such a rarity, but it's a long day. Hold on, I gotta grab a bowl. That's funny. I become so used to this that I'm talking to the camera. Hold on, I'll be back. I'm gonna get a bowl. Like you haven't already clicked the video off by now. But the integrities that we develop will be our saviors. And I meet a lot of good people who said, I was raised as this or I was raised as that. A Catholic, a Christian. And those are usually the two, either Catholic or Christian. I rarely hear a person say, I was raised a Muslim, but I left. But that does happen too, but we don't have as many in the West. Those are the two main religions, so of course you'll hear that a lot here. And what's sad is that they even give different names to them. Catholicism, Christianity. It's they're, I mean, to change the Bible a little bit and throw in another guy. Anyway, I'm not going there. My point of that was that it's always amazing to me when people like say, "Hey, I was raised this way, but then I saw the truth." Like people who say, like one of my subs who had made a video, and she said that I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. That's kind of the going thing. I mean, that's what people are doing now. And when you say that to people in society, they're like, whatever. But what's sad is that when I say that, I say society, meaning society as a whole. And it's true. I mean, when I bring up stuff at work, I never get a person who jumps on it. I've never told a person that I work with, or that really anybody much, that I don't say, oh man, I'm really into philosophy. I don't meet people who are into philosophy. It just doesn't work that way. On YouTube I do. But they might be in Austria. They might be in the UK. Might be in fucking Canada. I don't, these are people around the world, 1 in a million. People who know. People who know. People who have stopped yearning for this and yearning for that and just accept shit for what it is. I mean, I am not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. I fuck up all the time, and I love it because it allows me to learn from it. And that's that you can't let yourself down if you don't see faults or mistakes as faults. The only time mistakes are an issue with people is when they keep repeating them over and over. And that's what society keeps doing, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, we build our values, and then all of a sudden we set them aside for materials. And then we build our values, set them aside for materials. So there's one side of society that's happy to just believe one belief and say, this is the answer to life, this is what life's all about, cool, I'm going to stop searching. This is what my parents told me. I've believed this since I was 10 years old. Dude, what the hell does that mean? I mean, you're 10 years old. What do you know about anything when you're 10? If a person takes on a religion in their later years, I'm much more apt to believe them, or have respect for that belief than if they say I've just raised a Christian. And it's like that to me shows that a person hasn't done any critical thinking if they are still a Christian and they were raised a Christian. But I'm sorry if I offend anyone with that, because I know I have Christian subs, and I don't mean to offend, but a person who truly has faith in their faith, they won't be offended by that. A person who really believes what they believe will only maybe feel kind of a, a thought bubble up, but maybe feel sorry for me. And that's what I get a lot. A lot of people that say, I feel sorry for you because you seem insightful and you seem like you have all these ideas, but you haven't found Christ yet. Like, bullshit. I found Christ when I was like 5. He went through my head, I learned about him, boom, cool. On and on to the next thing. I've learned more, I think, about Christ than most Christians, or many Christians, because I do read the Bible, and I do read Christian writings, and I enjoy them. And I think Jesus was a phenomenal person. Yes, I believe he existed, and there was a time when I said maybe not. But yeah, I believe he was probably a real person that really walked the earth and really taught great things. He was a person who had attained enlightenment. And at that time, if one person attained enlightenment, they weren't looked at as a fucking nutcase because they could prove their point pretty simply. Nowadays, everybody just assumes everything's tricks. There are no prophets left. There are no wise men. There are no sages, not in the West. There are, but they're unrecognized because it's too hard to sift through it. It's just like there's one guy out there on YouTube who probably has a channel that knows like super deep stuff and really has the deeper insight on something that none of us, most of us don't know, that maybe was passed down. That's probably trying to put that out, information out for everyone. And everybody just assumes that they're a troll or a fraud. That's just how it is. Nobody's going to believe any prophet now. There's no one into modern society who could step up, go on camera and say, I'm a prophet, and not have everybody just laugh at him. I mean, so where does that leave us? That leaves us with ourselves. If the prophets are gone, we have ourselves. I don't really think that there were prophets myself. I think that the prophets are symbolic for our, an archetype for our own deep inner psyche. I know there were prophets. I'm not saying that people didn't exist that prophesied, but most of the ideals were pretty obvious. I mean, if you look back, it's like I was saying, all the good quotes are taken. In modern society, you couldn't say, I think, therefore I am. And people would be like, yeah, so? But that's something that's endured. These stupid old quotes that are really obvious, and we look at these people like, wow, they were so wise. They weren't any wiser than you or I. I mean, incapacity. All the information's there. Everything's there that humans are able to know or need to know. It's just there. It's available to us right now. It's just a matter of how much more do you want? I mean, how much do you want to know, and how much do you need to survive? So it leaves us as humans with nothing but integrity, nothing but a way to live our lives. We can go around telling other people that we know the truth, that we know what's right, and we're all full of shit. There's not a single person out there who knows more than you. There are no real truthers on YouTube that are out spreading anything that has, any bearing whatsoever on modern day society or ancient society. They're using ideas that have been in existence since the beginning of time. Duality, non-duality, and religions, and atheism, and just everything in between. At the end of the day, I think that I'm just, like my wife said today, that my kid wanted to know how's milk made? How do they make milk? And so she was able to show him a video on YouTube. And it also made me think about how when I was a kid I couldn't even record stuff like this and share it. I had to just think it in my head. Or I had a tape recorder and then figure out a way to do something with the tape. But, here we are. And everything's at our fingertips. And we've become, I don't know, I guess we've lost the desire to really look, seek out the truth. We just want to think we know everything. So integrity itself comes from integrating yourself into your surroundings. So if you don't fit in, that's your own fault. And I try to be as gentle as I can when I make videos. I try not to say you, but because I'm speaking to myself too. But it's really true. A person has to fucking figure this shit out in order to be happy in life. I could be angry because my kid's crying, or I could be happy because he learned a lesson. I could be angry because my car broke down, or I could be happy because I'm stuck in a cool area, a nice park where I can walk. You know, and I don't know. I can't stop talking. I sit down here and I'm thinking I'll just take a bong hit, make a quick video. I was gonna say at the beginning, I'm gonna make a video for a few minutes, probably like 30 minutes. Who knows how long it is now. But that's what I've learned. That's what's most important to me is integrity. And that's why it's part of the reason why I smoke in my videos. Because I'm not talking about tobacco or weed, I'm talking about when I have cigarettes. Because when I go back and see one of those, I'm going to feel like an idiot for smoking. So I'm consciously aware. Man, that tastes good. OG Kush. Oh my god. Crossed with snow. Homie's coming over tonight. Get some Planet Zeldar and some hash and I started a new job today and it's cool. It's cool. It's hardcore. You know, I'm framing right now. I'll be doing finished work, I'm sure, on it soon, but I'm a finished carpenter, for those who don't know. I do all kinds of crown molding, cabinets, trim, and stuff like that. Boxes, I love doing stuff like that. But the rough stuff I like too. It's just, you know, rough framing is hard to get used to. But anyway, today was my first day, and it took a lot of integrity for me to not only take a job that paid half of what I was making before, less than half of what I was making working for myself, because I worked for myself for a while, but I had to actually take a job working for less than half of what I made, and then it turned out to be shitty because I couldn't get paid on time, and it was just, you know, it just didn't work out right. And so I actually had to go get another job. Like, I didn't have to, but I chose to. And I say that because I see it differently than I would have 3 years ago. I was able to just go take that job, man. It was like I stopped associating myself and limiting myself with like knowledge. Like, we shortchange ourselves so often by saying, "Oh, well, I'm not sure if I could do that." I jumped in and said, "Hey, I'm a carpenter. I can do anything. You just tell me what to do." So he gives me blueprints. It says, "Frame these walls. You know, build this." And it's crazy, fucked up house all on the West Hills. It's sloping, and they had to rebuild it. I said, "Okay," and I did it. So that's what I do. You know, I just tell myself. I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, I am a journeyman carpenter. I can do anything, but you know, we get in our mind these mindsets that we can't do certain things. It's just the same way with the job. Like, oh well, I have a job. It's easy. I'll just stick with it. No way, man. I quit that fucking job because I was there for like 3 weeks. Didn't work out, and I just applied. I emailed some dude on Craigslist. I just let fate do the, you know, let my fingers do the walking. Go on to Craigslist when my mind tells me to. I looked at a job. I sent him a copy and paste kind of like job application type thing, that because I made a long thing that I applied for one job with, and said, "Look, this is my situation. I had my own business, and my transmission went out on my van, and then I lost my bond and insurance because I couldn't pay it, and you know, here I am working for the man again." And I got a call back the next day, you know, by this like architect that was doing a house in the West Hills and needed kind of a finished guy, and it just worked perfectly because I was in the flow, and so I went there today and spent most of the day in the fucking attic, and it's like 90 degrees out, and I was like up in the attic, and it's open right now because it's like all framed in, but dude, it took a lot for me to realize, okay, not only do I have to drive an hour to work, but then I have to work 8 hours and get sweaty, dirty, and then sitting in an old pickup truck and ride home for another hour. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's where our integrity comes from, is facing those situations with like ease and not letting it get to us and just being the best we can. So I'm gonna look. I think this video's probably gotten pretty long. So holy shit! So much for integrity. It's the longest video I've ever made. Wow. I guess I have a lot of integrity to share. No. It's because I'm not looking at my own ugly mug. So there you go, folks. Anybody who's made it this long, I fucking straight up like, you're the champion. You're the champion. For listening to me for that long, because I don't know anybody who will listen to me for that long. And you know what the beauty is? Nobody can cut me off. You can turn me off, but you can't cut me off. That's where we lose our thing, you know. People are talking, and they're talking over each other. Especially if you talk about very similar, you know, things. It's just like, I like to watch people's videos a lot more than I used to on YouTube. And I'll be honest, because that's part of my integrity issue. Is telling people that, you know, you're not holier than thou. But at the same time, I don't feel holier than thou, but I don't know, there's certain things about myself that I want to change. And I try to change. Like, I make these videos and then I just post them and then I'm done. I mean, I hardly even spend any time on YouTube. I guess and I've learned to do it. It's almost like an addiction. And I don't do it to fulfill any particular, like, desire except for to express myself and to share with all the peeps that I like. There's a very, you know, small group of people that I really like on YouTube. And, you know who you are. People anybody who I've responded to your message more than 3 times, you're one of my type friends. So, cheers to you. And those are probably the only ones who have made it this far, if anybody. So, I'll leave you with the idea of just taking it over, you know, one day at a time. Take the AA approach to it. It sounds silly, because I don't like AA, but it works for a lot of people. And one day at a time, know who you are, know why you are, and accept the fact that you will not know everything that you want to know in life unless you stop wanting to know so much. And that means being happy with things the way they are and accepting it, but not trapping yourself into being stuck in a particular situation where you feel wronged or hurt. If you're in a good situation and you feel good about your life right now, then why strive for more? And that's all I can say to leave you with. Just like, why would a person want to seek more stuff or power or fame if they're doing fine and they're happy? It's because people think they can be happier. And they think that there's a state where you can reach where you're just always happy. And it just doesn't exist. There's not a person on earth who is always happy. And when we stop reaching for these lofty goals of just keeping a smile on our face 24 hours a day, accepting our emotions as they come, processing them, life becomes a lot easier. I guarantee it. I fucking guarantee it. I'm not kidding. When I look at things that used to give me that butterflies in my stomach, now they just make me think. And the butterflies in your stomach, that's a sign of fear. And fear causes adrenaline. And adrenaline takes away your ability to think. So when you stop stressing about situations, you'll be able to think so much more clearly and really deal with them head on. And don't take more than your own workload. I'm not a paperwork guy. I'm a guy who does work, hands-on work. Some people are paperwork people. We need those people. That's the thing. Stick with what you're good at, but expand your horizons and be honest with yourself and develop integrity. Peace.